So should be live, but we'll find out in a second here. So I'm getting things set up. Hope everybody is doing well. If you can see this, yes, it looks like that is there now. Mute that. All right, and why is this making noise? Okay, close that. All right. So, I hope everybody is doing well. Hey, Thomas, good to see you, my friend. First in the house, as usual. And just getting things squared away here. And, hey, Bradley is here. John DeMarco is here. Hail, hail. The gang's all here. Hey, Benny, good to see you as well. So we are going to do open line style today. However, a couple of quick rules, which I've said before. If I don't know who you are, I'm not going to just blindly let you into the show because we've had a few trolls come on and say horrible things just to try and get the channel in trouble. So I apologize if I see someone pop up and I haven't talked to you on Streamlabs before or StreamYard before. You have to do something to verify who you are before I just let you on because I really don't want to deal with that anymore. And let me get the old invite thing set up. So, if you are interested in joining, here is the link, and I will pin it to the top of the chat so that it doesn't go away, so I don't have to keep reposting it every now and then. So, while waiting for a couple of people to show up, let me tell you, I've been working like a madman. I've written over 10 pages of this document so far for my rewrite, if you will, of all of Star Trek Discovery. So, right now, I'm just working on some of the basic backdrop stuff, fixing what I think are some of the base problems with the premise of the show itself. And I'm very curious to talk to some of you guys about it. I'm not going to get into the detailed stuff as far as the episodic stuff because I'm going to save that for the videos. But the overarching stuff, while this will be in the first video on in this series, I do want to kind of bounce some ideas off of you guys because I think that I got some great ideas that came in before. Darren Wagner and I were talking on Skype, and he gave me a great idea. And I see Commodore Ty is with us. How you doing, Commodore?
Hello, how's it going?
Hey, my friend. So, don't know if you heard what I was saying there about this whole rewrite of Discovery, right? So,
It means more than just a rewrite.
Well, yes and no, but keep in mind a rewrite can change virtually everything about a show. So, where I'm kind of setting some limitations to what I'm allowing myself to do per se is I'm not changing the gender or race or any core characteristic of people like that. I'm sticking with the cast as it exists. Now, some people don't think that Sonequa Martin Green can act. Some people do. I think the acting is more set by the tone of the producers and directors on a TV show than the actor. From my understanding, Sonequa Martin Green is a competent enough actor, but you know they just love her looking really smug for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, it makes no sense to me. But and let me get my dashboard set up so I don't miss if I get a super chat here. Speaking of which, Sean puts in a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Sean. Good to see you, my friend. Hope things are going well for you. And says, Disco Season 3 was quite the worst. Supine? Is that a word? Or am I misreading it? Fan fiction, standard garbage I've ever seen. The burn was a joke, and the sickly neediness embarrassing. Yeah, there were a lot of problems with Season 3.
The reason for the burn was a complete joke.
Yeah.
They made it sound
was
like
a child's temper tantrum.
Temper tantrum.
Yeah.
It
made no sense. Honestly, it would have been better had it been some kind of plot from the chain or something. You know, that
it would have been better if it was something from the Emerald Chain to increase profits of dilithium.
Right. And in fact, it would make sense. Like if the Emerald Chain discovered that dilithium planet and they were just trying to figure out a way to harvest it, which is the real reason they wanted the spore drive, right? So they could get in there.
Yeah.
And So they're just trying to figure out a way to harvest it, but then they also created a way to use that dilithium planet to send out a signal that would render all other dilithium inert. That could work.
Or
As
or if someone, or like how it was explained earlier, use omega for some reason.
I don't want to see the Omega particle. I hated that too.
No, but it would have been better than a temper tantrum.
But but that's like trade one piece of crap for another. I think the Emerald Chain triggering the burn purposefully would make sense. And I'm not sure if my Streamlabs
they were not that big of a threat this whole season.
That's true. Well, and they weren't even a threat at the end. I mean, so Broken Spear puts in $5. Just a second, Commodore. Broken Spear puts in $5. Says, I'm halfway through the last episode. It's bad. It's not redeemable. Actors are good, but writing is terrible. Waste of money, time, and material. Agreed on pretty much all of that. And Mercer says Discovery has Space Mountain turbo lifts. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Oh.
Although, honestly, that's unfair to Space Mountain, because at least Space Mountain follows real physics.
What were they smoking when they came up with the turbolift system? Did they have an alliance with Gallifrey or something?
The stupid thing about that, Commodore, is that because everybody hemmed and hawed when we saw the turbolifts in season 1, and then so what did they do? They made it 100 times worse, which I didn't even think was possible.
Well, it's 30-second technology, but still.
No. Anyway, so good to see you, Positive Candor. I don't know if you're muted. So
yeah, but I'm here.
Okay.
But yeah, I was going to point out. You remember how the goofy nacelle that the one lady stuck the bomb into was kind of hanging there,
and then it was fine a few minutes later.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's space magic. It was just, the bomb just turned the system off for a couple of minutes, apparently. Didn't do any real damage.
Yeah, and then the nacelle magically reattached itself after being blown to bits, I guess, right?
Yeah. And Moroccan's secret agent puts in $2 and says, some people did something in DC, also F Discovery. That's true. Some people did do something in DC, and Discovery. So,
yeah. It's, I guess, the turbolift dimension that you go to when you enter the turbolifts, right?
Must be, yeah. It's a subspace turbolift dimension. You're about to enter into the scary door, a door into the turbolift of the USS Discovery. And Sean with £5 says Star Trek VI has the Praxis explosion due to overmining. What a link, tip of the hat. It could have been on a much bigger scale. That's true. They could and funny, wasn't that dilithium mining?
Yes.
Yep.
Isn't that a coinky dink?
Yeah, it's a coincidence, huh?
And God apparently donated $1. Thank you, God. God says delete Thomas. Hashtag Jeff for host, amen, and a woman. Well, Jeff isn't here right now, and I'm not deleting Thomas, God, because Thomas is my friend, even if he did doubt you a bit. Now, so here's a couple of my ideas. So since we got you guys on here now, I'm going to run some of this by you, and you guys in the chat too. Let me know if you think some of these ideas are just completely stupid, or if you think this could actually help improve the show. And keep in mind, this is only the starting point.
Could improve it,
Well, that's true. Yeah, and I am not ignoring the chat, Professor. I am having a conversation here. You want to come join us, Professor? You are welcome to. You got the link. It's right there. So, boy, some people.
know that they're filming are going to do. They're going to do seasons 4 and 5 concurrently. They're going to film them concurrently, right? You do know that, right?
Yeah, because they're afraid that it might get canceled.
Well, 2 seasons of Discovery is like 1 season of a real show, so why not? They might actually have to work for a few months. My God, those poor people. So, number one, okay, so keep in mind, I'm rolling it all the way back to season 1, episode 1 here. We're redoing the entire series from scratch, except for keeping the same basic characters, same basic premise. And so, number one, changed the setting to the year 2423. And so we're talking about, early 25th century. That accounts for the technological style of the show. We don't have to drastically change the physical appearance of anything for it to be 25th century. The Shinzo will not be. What is that class of ship that the Shinzo is? I'm trying to remember. I actually like that ship, but I can't remember what it is.
A Walker class ship?
Is that the Walker class? I thought because it's the Crossfield is the Discovery. That's the one I hate. So the Walker class ship I'm going to save for the Discovery. And Fed is here. How you doing, Fed?
Hello, lads. Give me some relief from this god.
Or sorry, oi! Throw some kangaroo meat on the Barbie. That's what Bird said, right? With some shrimp.
Shrimp? No. Use prawns, mate.
Well, I'm just going by what Bird of Prey said. Well, I'm sorry, Ozzy Prey said on his stream today. I don't know if you heard him. Yeah, you were there, I think.
Was that?
All right, so back to and Fed, you weigh in on this too. So number one, so we make it in the year 2423. The Shinzo is a Galaxy class starship. And the concept here now, of course, 2423, that is 40 odd years after TNG, right? It's like 30. It's 38 years after the Hobus supernova, according to the timeline. So basically, get an idea for when this is taking place. And the Galaxy class ship is obviously outdated at this point, but it has one real big advantage, which is why the Shinzo is a Galaxy class. It's sheer size, because what Starfleet is doing at this point in the future is they're using the Galaxy class ships as basically training ships for senior year academy students. So the entire crew, so because of what we've seen established in canon, and what a Galaxy class can hold is it has a crew of 500 regular crew, 1,000 instructors, and 10,000 senior year cadets on a single ship. So the Shinzo is a training vessel. Michael Burnham is a cadet. Okay, not a commander, not someone who didn't earn her way into Starfleet and just hand it to her because her adopted dad has influence.
Okay, firstly, love the Galaxy class idea, big fan of it, but I feel like it's a waste of the Galaxy class. The idea behind the Galaxy class is, yes, it would be superseded by subsequent.
The Galaxy class would be running 30 years later.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah, but
because they've had Excelsior.
But it would be, but the tech
classes for 100 years.
Right, but keep in mind that the Galaxy class was already a dated.
3 years, then it doesn't matter what you start her as, really.
What's that? What did you say, Candor?
I said if you're keeping it similar to the other show and she becomes captain after 3 years, then it almost doesn't matter what you start her at, really.
Right, but I don't want to start her as a commander. And Mexican Iron Man with a $10 super chat saying,
captain?
wireless internet acting wacky, be right back. All right, Mexican Iron Man, we'll be waiting for you. I'm curious to see what you have to say.
I mean, are you going to have her not be the bestest ever, too?
No. She's not. In fact, that's going to, in the whole concept here for this show is to basically where we start the show in the original, in what we got in these first 3 seasons. We start the show with Michael Burnham, who's perfect at everything, but she commits a crime and is convicted of that crime, stripped of her rank, and then she gets it back for no particular reason. And by the way, she never, I think Positive Candor, you mentioned this before, but she never went to Starfleet Academy. She is not technically a commissioned Starfleet officer. She never was, yeah. She went to the Vulcan Science Academy.
Yeah, which means nothing really.
Right. It would be like saying I went to U of O, so now make me a lieutenant in the army. No, it doesn't work that way.
No. I'm liking this. It's just the first thing we change. Can we give her like a proper female name? Just that Michael stuff does my head in. But
I'm not a big fan of it, but like I said, this is just for simplicity. I'm keeping it all that stuff the same, so it's easy to identify who's who rather than try to change everything.
Okay, so you're saying she's a cadet and such like, and what's the general arc we're following here? That are they going to become like coming into their own or something like that?
Right. So by the end of season 1, so we are going to have the Klingon conflict, although it's not going to be Kling orcs; they will be Klingons. And the idea here is, and that's part of the reason I chose the time frame that I did. I figured by 24, 23, at this point, so the Federation, the Romulan Empire is in complete disarray because of what happened with the Hobus supernova. The Klingons have basically cut off diplomatic relations with the Federation because the Federation gave the Romulans safe haven. And the Klingons, of course, if there's one thing Klingons hate, it's Romulans.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm trying to follow the actual lore as opposed to just pulling stuff out of my butt, right? So trying to make stuff that actually makes sense. Go ahead.
I know the Klingons might hate the Romulans' guts, but they did work together in the Dominion War, so it's kind of hard to...
Yeah, but that's...
They did, but I still think there's a lot of bad blood there, and all it takes is the wrong chancellor.
Yeah.
Or, you could just make the Kling orcs an entirely new race.
Please,
you could do that, but I do like the idea because I do want to get the Klingon the conflict from the first episode. I think the one thing that kind of makes sense about it, even though the Vulcan hello is stupid, but the one thing that kind of makes sense is that if you understand how Klingons think, you would think that they would respect an aggressive move.
True.
And so in that respect, Michael's correct. And so you can play into that if it's an established race like the Klingons. You can't do that if you bring in a new race.
Yeah, but here's my point. Isn't it rather ironic that Star Trek Online and even with just generally how the Abrams verse went, we're all coming back to all good things. The universe seems primed to follow the exact same path as all good things.
I think part of the reason there, honestly, is that the Klingons make such great villains.
It's easy to pick Klingons. Side against them in battle.
The Klingon alliance never made any sense to me because, in a lot of ways, the Klingons stand against everything that any Federation member would go for. They are not remotely democratic. They are bloodthirsty by nature. They seem like a completely unlikely villain. I always thought that it would be Federation Klingons, one of them would have to be destroyed.
Well, and this is where, I think that's where we can kind of get to the Klingons because they have a warrior mentality. They see that what the Federation basically, they're just tired of the Federation being too nice all the time, right? The Klingons are like, hey, if somebody falls down, you don't help them up, you yell at them to get their butts up. Right? When the Romulans, were hit by the supernova, well, now the Romulans need to fix their own damn empire.
Yeah. Speaking of something entertaining, you know the word Shenjo? It actually translates as divine craft.
Maybe.
I did not know that. Have a good one, Mercer. I saw you said you were taking off, so have a good one, my friend. And so, but I think that time frame allows us to have a time. First of all, I want to divorce us of having crossovers with existing characters.
Yeah.
Right? You could eventually, if you want to do a cameo by a 150-year-old Riker, whatever. But we don't need to see that, right? I would
no, we don't need that.
Yeah. And so
I don't think anyone needs to see that.
Right. And so we could even push it a little further out if we wanted to.
All right. I would say, 25th century.
And
I
first
know.
name, last name, you know what? That's not called for. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
We're
came here to get away from that stuff. So spare me.
we're not talking about the election or any of that crap. And I understand if you don't like him, but you don't have to throw insults like that. Not to either of them, honestly. And thank you, Granny
Professor.
Specs, for taking care of that.
No
Yeah.
politics,
No problem.
please.
Yeah, anyone who does politics, we should probably eat them.
Yeah, you want to talk about politics? Bird of Prey was talking about it earlier. You can go bug him about it. Deej is streaming. I don't know if he's talking about it or not, but
They've talked a little
probably
bit.
still fighting with LDG about that. That
Kapla,
thing
Bird of
he did.
Prey.
oh, speaking of the devil,
Blur, pray.
it's funny. It's like you say Bird's name 3 times and he just magically appears.
Bird of prey, bird of prey, bird of prey. There he is.
Yeah. So anyway,
Try this
so
one.
we got a time frame. So far enough after next gen to where we're divorcing ourselves of crossovers directly. The Galaxy class ship is at this point out of date technology, but still useful, and that's why they use it as a training vessel.
I
And
agree with
well, I understand. I mean, I know that Miranda was around for a while, but keep in mind that all of Starfleet got a massive upgrade during the Dominion War.
I hear what you're saying, but I always thought the Galaxy
Yeah, but
class.
wouldn't the Galaxy class be easily updated too?
Yeah, it is.
Well, notice we never saw after the Dominion War. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe we've seen a single Galaxy, Miranda,
Okay.
Excelsior. We have not seen any of these ships after the Dominion War.
No.
It was all new stuff.
There hasn't been much after the Dominion War.
Well, I'm just saying that but
lives
from
matter.
that point forward, like even look at the Battle of Sector 001, right? The most of the ships, for some reason they threw an Oberth in there, but but you had the steam runners and the Akiras and that kind of stuff. That's what was that was the new Starfleet.
Then why not use the Kira? The Kira makes perfect sense. Nicely, if you use a Galaxy class, I would say
The reason you use a Galaxy class as a training ship is because you have room for training. You have plenty of holodecks for training simulations. You have plenty of room for classrooms. You can set up mock areas for people to do various practical tests in. Not to mention, it's still a fully functional starship. It's the only ship of all of Trek that you could say that it's designed to have a ton of people on it.
It can also be designed as a portable starbase, effectively.
Exactly, and I mean, basically, and that's where when I was pulling the numbers, I was getting the numbers for how many people would be on it straight from Memory Alpha. So, if you could actually realistically put 10,000 cadets on this ship and still have a crew of 1,500 commissioned officers, that's perfect for a floating academy, basically.
Okay. All
right.
Can you have the Enterprise F on it?
No, we're not going to touch the Enterprise. It's not a part of the show.
All right, we don't need it then.
Yeah, no Enterprises. Not for this show. If they want to do another show with the Enterprise, fine, but Discovery is about Discovery. And the Shinzo, keep in mind, the Shinzo only in the first 2 episodes.
Yep.
Right? And so it's not like this is going to be the hero ship of the series. This is just something, first of all, and what I think would be good is if you started out, especially since this is the first new Trek since, not counting the 2009 reboot, since, the end of Enterprise. So we want to start with something familiar.
True.
And so if we're starting on a ship like a Galaxy class, and we're going through the paces of the training mission, things go wrong, and then all hell breaks loose, and then we end up on one of the newer ships. Okay, now we've transitioned and we've kind of crossed from here's where we were, here's where we're going. So we reduced Michael's rank, we put it on a Galaxy class ship, we set it post TNG, or post Voyager, I guess you would say.
Okay.
And actually it would be post Picard even, since Picard takes place in like 2399.
Yeah, less said about that, the better.
Well, I kind of like that
Right.
we're using ideas from both Discovery and Picard.
Well, the idea here, though, is to come up with something that works in universe and also has decent character arcs. So after the Klingon incident, which we'll get into once I start writing the script for the Vulcan Hello, which I was actually thinking, and you guys, this is something that I was just kind of shooting around. I haven't written it down yet, but something I was thinking about was to make Georgiou a Vulcan. So you could keep in mind she's a fairly stoic character anyway. You wouldn't have to change if you think about Georgiou as she appears in the first 2 episodes. You wouldn't really need to change anything about her to make except for her ears.
Okay.
All right. So keep in mind, I'm not changing her personality, but here's why I would change that: is Burnham, like in the original storyline, was the sole survivor of a Klingon raid when she was a child. And so she has a serious beef with Klingons. When she confronts Captain Georgiou, then instead of making the title the Vulcan Hello, because the Vulcan Hello means shoot first and ask questions later, which is like one of the most horrible things that Discovery did, and that's saying something. Instead, she recounts the story that was told by Surak in the original series. That the way that Vulcans deal with aggressive species is to send emissaries. They may be killed, but then you send another, and another, and another, until they broker peace.
Sounds a bit... Okay.
That sounds so good.
That's a Vulcan Hello. Right? The Vulcan Hello is not, we come in peace, shoot to kill. It's let's talk peace, and if you kill our first emissary, we'll send you another one to let you know we're serious. And that is,
I suppose.
Huh?
That seems like a good way to get rid of someone you don't like in the diplomatic corps.
Well, do you remember that though from the Savage Curtain?
Vaguely, it's been a long time. I probably start watching the GLS again.
Yeah, so in that episode, you should rewatch it sometime, because that's one of the things that I remember. Oh, and I'm sorry I missed it. Alex Kurtzman a few minutes ago donated $1. It says, "Wasn't Baby Sakal so much more cuter than Baby Yoda? Can I get an A woman?"
Like hell.
Alex Kurtzman, no. Baby Sakal was not nearly as cute as Baby Yoda. The only thing on Discovery that could, I think, be considered cute would probably be those stupid dot droids, but they felt like so out of place in a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
What about Lorca?
What do you think? Lorca's cute?
No, I mean, like, what are we going to do with Lorca?
Oh, Lorca's arc is going to be totally different. Number one, Lorca. So Lorca is not going to be from the Mirror Universe.
Good.
All right, let's get that out of the way. Even though if we're going to follow the same basic,
No Mirror Universe Lorca.
no Mirror Universe Lorca. Now, Lorca's character, I love the way that Jason Isaacs played him. And I would keep the character pretty much the way it was, except the stupid Mirror Universe twist, because that was just beyond garbage.
So he's just a guy with PTSD now.
He's exactly what he appeared to be for the first half of season 1. He's a brilliant military leader. He cares very much about winning the conflict with the Klingons, and he'll do anything to do it.
Maybe make him older though?
What's that?
Perhaps make him older though. What if you also made him a Dominion War vet?
You could do something like that, or that's actually not a bad idea. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That could be where his PTSD came from.
I think we've discussed that idea before, so
I like that. Let me jot that down in my notes here. Let's see.
I'll send you the note for the royalties.
Okay. So just write down. Okay, Lorca, a Dominion War vet. PTSD.
And make him from, what was the name of that fleet that was absolutely annihilated at the start of season 6.
Oh yeah, I remember where they were towing back the busted up ships and stuff at the beginning of the.
No. Bashir suggested somebody. Hold on, I'll find you that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They were just mentioned, like you didn't see anything, but they just talked about how like this entire fleet got wiped out.
Yes, and he was perhaps a person on one of the ships from there. That'll do you nicely.
That's not bad.
Which
I'll have to find.
which fleet is that?
I'm looking for that now. In sense of it's
Let me know when you find it. I'll put it in my notes here. I like the idea that Lorca is a Dominion War vet. The 7th Fleet, according to Robert Greene.
Ooh, the 7th fleet. We're only 14 vessels survive out of a fleet of
That's the
112.
Yeah.
He's a vet from one of those ships.
Very good. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah,
And
that
John
was-
DeMarco said that as well.
Can he still die at the end of the season? But he dies saving someone,
Save the
maybe.
Imperial
or-
class starship.
He's actually, he is going to die, but I'm going to have him die in season 2.
All right.
So he's going to survive season 1. I'm going to have him because he is going to not only fill the Lorca role in season 1, he's going to fill the Pike role in season 2.
And then he sacrifices himself in a blaze of glory.
Exactly. He's going to sacrifice himself. Now here's another one, and this is one that I think some people will find controversial, but I think it makes a lot more sense. So remember, I told you I was busting Michael from being a commander at the beginning of the series down to a cadet, basically. So she was just getting her commission as the series opens, and she'll become a captain at the end. So Tilly, I'm going to reverse that. She's not going to get busted down, but she's going to be a commander. She's going to be the first officer of the Discovery.
Okay.
So-
how do you keep
What do
that?
you mean, how?
character? How do you keep that? Are you going to
When
change
you
the
make
character?
Saru or like someone else the first officer?
Saru, no. Saru is going to be the chief science officer, but he's not going to. First of all,
okay.
I'm completely ditching the Kelpian puberty thing. All right, that's going away because that was stupid. That was when Saru's character went into the toilets. I liked Saru's character when he was basically a prey species, and so he approached everything from a very cautious viewpoint. Which was an interesting and new dynamic we hadn't seen in Trek before, but then they took it away when they had him go through space puberty. And
Yeah, but that was a good scene of him almost dying. So we got to figure out a way to keep him from near death or something.
we could do something. We can work out something with the Baul and all that, but I just don't want all of a sudden he's shooting poison darts from his neck and crap like that, and he's like this ultimate
Keep
badass.
that away, but like,
Right,
Yeah.
and the thing
I'm
is
just talking
that
about the scene in general.
right, but someone who is very cautious about everything, which is a natural thing for a prey species, would also make a horrible captain. Right, and likewise a horrible first officer, but he'd make a fine science officer.
Oh yeah.
And so
for
that's
sure.
where he's going to be. He's going to be the main science officer on the Discovery, and Tilly the first officer. And by the way, we're dropping the whole special need thing from season 1 with Tilly, right? She's just going to be a competent officer. She's not like the bestest at everything. She's just a strong leader, and we're going to leave it at that. She's our version of Riker, if you will. So
I like it so far. I like.
so yeah.
What
But she
about
is not a scientist.
Wait, though. A ginger Riker?
A ginger Riker. Yes.
Oh,
What about
dear God.
Tyler? Is he
Tyler,
still Bob?
haven't thought about Tyler as of yet. So that's one I have not. I haven't really dug into yet. I've been because Tyler to me was, I would probably not do the Vok Tyler thing because that was kind of dumb.
Very confusing.
Doing this thing, I think they ever put it on film for Star Trek. Discovery's bad
so
enough, and you make this is like the worst of the worst almost.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still going to have Laurel become eventually chancellor, or no?
I haven't. We'll probably do something with the power struggle in the Klingon Empire because that's how they'll gain peace again. Is to back
You
a
know what?
whatever house. But
It
the
would be
bomb in the
great
center of the planet, no, we're not doing a
Please,
bomb in the
avoid that.
center of the planet. We're not. That's something the Starfleet would never do. We're not bringing in Psycho Giorgio from another dimension.
So you're not
that-
going to have any Mirror Universe stuff at all, basically.
So
no,
regular
I
Georgia?
actually I was thinking about how could we incorporate, because almost half the first season took place in the Mirror Universe, so it's going to be hard to ignore that.
Okay.
So what I was thinking though is, now keep in mind, remember we moved the timeline, right? So now we're taking place after in the 25th century as opposed to previous to TOS. So at that point, what we have in established canon is that the Federation was wiped out or the Empire was wiped out in the Mirror Universe, right?
Thank you, Spock.
So
Oh, I got it. I got it.
if Discovery jumps into the Mirror Universe, all of a sudden there is an Earth-based ship with this crazy new transportation system that can jump anywhere. By the way, I don't have a problem with the jump drive, but it ain't going to be called a spore drive. I don't know what we're going to do with it yet, but we'll do something. But it's not going to be a frickin' spore drive.
So
Magic mushroom drive.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
No. Iconian technology. Use them.
There you go. Yeah, we could do something like that, where they come up with some kind of gateway drive that transports the ship basically to wherever you're trying to go. But
they're going to have Empress Giorgio or no?
If you want, like,
no, because the Empire is gone. There is no Empire.
Want to make a
I feel like we
fantastic-
could go back to like them rebuilding the empire and have like them having only 23rd century technology,
They wouldn't even have
or we
that.
can
It'd
bring
be
back
very primitive.
the Defiant class Defiant, because they did create.
We see, and that's where I think there could be a lot of potential in the Mirror Universe, because if a human or if a Starfleet ship shows up in that Mirror Universe with the kind of tech that they would have, then everybody would want that ship. So all of a sudden they're being hunted down by everybody.
Just don't make it rise like lions. That was a terrible book.
Rise Like Lions, never heard of it.
It was part of the Mirror Universe series where they
Okay.
basically had this Spock having this alternative plan, doing this breakaway faction in the shadows, like Section 31. That was just
Okay.
taking technology from everybody. It was a big Deus Ex Machina to the Mirror Universe.
Right. Yeah, and Robert, I'm thinking something similar to the BSG jump drive, just haven't come up with the actual tech for it yet. That's something that I haven't worked out.
Slipstream.
Slipstream is just faster warp drive.
But
I
it's
mean,
something. I'm just
Right, but we
just
want.
one
I
idea.
like the
It sounds
plot
a lot more
device.
reasonable than a core drive.
Well, we're not doing. It's not going to be a spore drive, and it's not going to be something we've seen before, like transwarp. It'll be a instantaneous jump drive. I just don't know what the tech base of it's going to be yet.
Ludicrous speed.
Yeah, that's why I think Iconians work, because literally
Right, I like the Iconian idea, or even something like. We also had something like that in the Picard series with the Queen's Chamber transporter thing that was like a mini version of the Iconian Gateway, right? And so if they came up with a way to study that tech and figure out a way to, like if you've channeled all the ship's power into this thing, it could transport it.
Wait. What's the name of that thing from Voyager?
It
Coaxial
could
warp
be
drive.
like they took transwarp technology from the Borg and then the Iconian gate. So you go through the main deflector, get like a gateway, like a transport portal, and it goes instantaneously to where you set your coordinates to.
Yeah,
Right.
and
That's
kind of
why
like you could think of it almost like in Voyager from Scorpion when they use the
Thomas,
deflector
you
dish
too.
to open up the portal to get into fluidic space.
What's going on with Thomas, Professor?
What's up?
He
Oh,
wants to
something-
leave YouTube and delete his YouTube account.
No, you're not leaving YouTube, Thomas. Is that
We
what
need
those?
you here, Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, you're my buddy.
Stay here and fight. Stay here and dance.
Okay, then.
So I understand, Thomas, that it's been a rough patch for a lot of us. But, you know, look at all the love you're getting, not just on the panel, but in the chat. So shut up and don't say that, because I'm not going to tolerate it. You're my friend. And you've been following this channel for a long, long time, and I appreciate it, man. Every single time I see you, it makes me feel a little bit better. So don't you dare even think about going away. Anyway. So I do Renegade why not warp 10 drive with no salamanders. They call it the salamander drive.
Yeah, but
if it weren't for Scotty, the entire crew of the Excelsior would be salamanders.
Well, considering how much of a ponces they all were, would that really be such a downgrade?
Say that again?
Considering they're all a bunch of ponces before Sulu took over, would that really be so bad? They were a terrible crew.
Well, you know, yeah, they were kind of a bunch of snotty jerks in when they were the NX 2000.
I think someone had a hard on for really hating the English, because that guy just reminded me of every bad stereotype of English.
Although I kind of buy into the idea that the first of all, keep in mind, transwarp basically just means faster than warp.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's transwarp is not a specific drive system. There have been multiple transwarp systems, and when I see the transwarp drive from the Excelsior, I say that after they this is just my headcanon on it, but after the incident in Star Trek 3, they repaired the ship. The transwarp drive was ultimately successful, which is why the warp speed scale changed.
Oh yeah, there was a theory about that.
That's fine,
right?
Canon.
And so, yeah, that to me, I always thought that the transwarp of the USS Excelsior is just warp drive in the next gen.
Works for me, but
that's how I see it. I was just making a joke, man.
No worries.
But what I'm thinking is, it's a good thing to differentiate this from warp, because like warp, transwarp, slipstream drive, to me, it just seems like as you go down that, you're just going deeper and deeper. You're finding more efficient ways of utilizing the subspace. This is not a warp. This is a punch in reality.
Right.
So that's why the Iconian idea is good. So, yeah, completely different technology basis, which means completely different understanding of science.
Right.
And they can.
I'm gonna have to rewatch. What do you? Could somebody tell me what the name of the episode with the Iconians from TNG is, where they really get into it?
TNG. Contagion.
Contagion. Okay.
Yeah, it's titled USS Yamato blowing the smithereens.
And also there's a Dimmadar one.
I like the episode. I just
That's
don't know why they were
decent
mucking around
That's
the
quite a
neutral
good
zone
episode
so
to
much.
watch.
Right. I'm gonna have to rewatch that one. I'll probably rewatch it tomorrow to kind of refresh my memory on the Iconian stuff. But that's not a bad idea.
Season 2, episode 10, I believe.
Contagion to the death, I think.
No, it's just Contagion.
Contagion.
Yeah. So John was saying they're also in the DS9 episode To the Death.
That's what I said.
Oh yeah,
okay.
the death.
Misunderstood you. Sorry.
That's when the Jem'Hadar had a splinter group and they attacked DS9 and all that. First showing of Wayun.
Any other good episodes for my research on Iconian tech?
Those are the only two that they actually bring up the Iconians in.
Okay.
But if you want novels, there's one of them that's good.
Novels not canon. We can extrapolate anything from, if we have those episodes, because I want to see, as far as when I look at hard canon, like this is what they've actually said. So then from that, what can we logically extrapolate with enough study? What they have done with it? Would that work for our purposes? And I like the idea that it's something that, because the mycelial network thing was just, come on.
You just call it gateway drive.
The what?
So does
gateway drive.
Yeah, the gateway drive.
Simple. The Sporp drive.
Absolutely not.
I know. They shouldn't call it that.
Just call
And
it.
Alex, also, how would you write a
Just call
mirror
it-
universe version of the Dominion? Would they be a major reoccurring antagonist? Actually, you know what's that would be an interesting thing to happen if they slip into the mirror universe,
Dominion
because
would be like the
if you
Federation
have
style.
if you have no empire in the mirror universe, right? Because the empire fell. Who was it that took over? It was the Bajorans and
The
It was the
Klingon Cardassian
Cardassian
alliance.
Klingon alliance,
the
and that fell
the
at the end of
Cardassian Klingon.
DS9's. That fell at the end of the Deep Space Nine Mirror Universe arc.
Yeah. There is a funny thing I saw in one of the novels. I know, not canon. Don't shoot the messenger. But apparently there was an idea that Odo came from the Mirror Universe himself. The Odo from our universe, plus the Mirror Universe, they got swapped around because that explains why he was so different. That the Odo from our universe ended up in the Mirror Universe to be shot by Bashir, while theirs came to end up in our universe. That's why he was so different. Apparently, Bashir went into the Mirror Universe on the Section 31 novel, and he actually did see the Dominion, which were actually reasonable people.
Well, it makes sense since everything's kind of opposite. But so here's what I'm thinking. So with the Empire gone, and I'm gonna have to rewatch the DS9 Mirror Universe to kind of get an idea of the state of things at the end of that, because now in the Deep Space Nine Mirror Universe, on their side they didn't even know about the wormhole, right?
Nope.
Right.
No.
So if the Dominion found the wormhole in the Mirror Universe and they decided to attack the remnants of what was left, because they were, or worse or like if they actually might be the opposite, where you would have the Klingon Cardassian alliance, if they're still around, go through the wormhole and attack the Dominion.
Well, maybe you should have the Founders being the big bad in the Mirror Universe.
I think the best thing would be is that the Federation goes in there, or the remnants of the Klingon Cardassian Union alliance go find the wormhole because of the sensor data that they collected the first time that Bashir and Kira went over, and went to.
I mean, I think it'd be better if you had the Founders.
Gamma Quadrant, and then you have the Terran Empire make peace with the Dominion. Then you have Dominion Terrans versus Klingons and Cardassians for one major battle.
I mean, if you have.
The problem with the Cardassians.
Hold on, what were you saying, Kandor?
I was saying if you had the Founders as the main bad of the Mirror Universe, then you had the possibility then of them basically imitating like Lorca or whoever, and people not knowing, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So like they could infiltrate.
Yes, infiltrate the regular universe by basically, kind of a similar concept to what they did, but I think that's the only way to do it with the the changelings and stuff like that. You know
what? Actually, here's an idea, because the problem is if you were to make the Founders the big bad of the Mirror Universe, then they would not be significantly different in the Mirror Universe. But what if the Founders were, basically just trying to survive, right? They were hiding because everybody's hunting them down, as opposed to them being this aggressive group that's, coming after them. In fact, the Jem'Hadar in this other universe are created by the people of the Gamma Quadrant to hunt down the Founders. As opposed, but then you have a Founder, like someone, while Discovery is in the Mirror Universe, you have one of the changelings, basically find a dead crew member or something, and then imitate them and get rid of them, so that they could sneak back to our universe. So instead of having Georgiou coming back, you bring back a changeling.
Maybe.
What if Nog with a knife showed up to see if she is a changeling or not?
Mirror Nog.
What happened to that Nog? I think it was shot or something.
That's true. Dreamers Out There points out Mirror Odo was in the Deep Space Nine episode in the Mirror Universe, and he was kind of a dick, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yes.
And Dreamers Out There also points out they do know about the wormhole because of them going through. And Malfi says, "Wouldn't the Mirror Universe Dominion be more like the Federation?" Well, that's why I was saying that I wouldn't make the Dominion on the Mirror Universe the same structurally. Like if we were truly going for opposite day in the Mirror Universe, then the founders, instead of being these powerful race that's manipulated the entire quadrant to under their rule, are hiding as everybody else is trying to hunt them down and wipe them out.
One problem, though, the Klingon-Cardassian alliance kind of nuked any potential for that, because the Cardassians are still Cardassians in the Mirror Universe, and Klingons are still Klingons in the Mirror Universe. And from what I remember, the alliance wasn't exactly the most stable thing.
Well, that's why I want to rewatch it. I want to see what the status of everything was, and see what is there to work with. The problem is, and this is something that Darren and I have also talked about, is that nobody has gotten the Mirror Universe right since Mirror Mirror, because they all treat it like it's just an alternate timeline as opposed to a parallel universe. And so if it's an alternate timeline, then things develop in the Mirror Universe differently. If it's a parallel universe, then things are supposed to continue the same in both universes, just opposite.
Yeah.
And that could raise questions of free will and crap like that, but that's not what it's about. It's just about having fun when you bring in the Mirror Universe generally.
The only thing about
I always wondered
that drove me mental was it didn't make sense. I know it's not supposed to. It's just, how do you make anything function when everyone's trying to kill one another?
And so Dreamers Out There saying, what if the founders in the Mirror Universe are working to peacefully unify the Gamma Quadrant? They're still the Dominion, but it's consenting and peaceful. I could see that, but we would have to make, how would it be? And in fact, that could be, now this could be interesting. So if Discovery jumps into the Mirror Universe, and the first thing that they run into is a Jem'Hadar ship. Now, to them, they're like, whoa, we haven't seen a Dominion ship in a long time. And they're like all going to red alert, but the Dominion ship is actually begging them for help, because they're on the verge of getting wiped out by the Klingon-Cardassian alliance.
You could make the Dominion like, what was the name of that for Star Trek Starfleet battles? Interstellar Concordium. You can make them like that.
I don't remember. I haven't played Starfleet battles.
They were basically
in a long time.
They were a faction that effectively sought to. They were like the Dominion in many ways, but at the same time, they were. Perhaps it's a bad example, because they were pre-Dominion-esque. They used force to get their way, but you could make it a much more. You could make the Dominion in the Mirror Universe exactly what people thought the Federation was: insidious, very peaceful. They're all looking to find their place within the Dominion. You could keep a lot of their elements, find their place, blah blah, but they're all about peacefully trying to integrate and sort of shuffle into it. You could actually make an interesting commentary about the modern day with them, in all that fact, because they use very warm-sounding things, but are completely insidious.
Oh, I always wondered, on an unrelated note, what if the Klingons, the Romulans, the Breen, the Ferengi, and the Cardassians formed their own version of the Federation?
Already did that with in the novels. What was that place called? The Taurus Combine, or it was the...
Oh, it's the Emerald Chain, didn't you know?
No. It was something else. The novels did it better. It was the Typhon Pact.
Yeah, John DeMarco just put Typhon Pact in the chat, so.
Which is actually an interesting idea if you think about it.
If you're going to rewrite, then rewrite season 3. we're gonna have to think of something else but the Emerald Chain, because you'd have the the Orion Syndicate, or maybe it's just rogue Orions and groups of different species,
Well,
like Nausicaans or something.
one thing I really don't understand about the Emerald Chain concept is, but I mean, yeah, I get it. They're the only thing that makes them evil is they're capitalists because evil capitalism, bad, all that crap. But which I mean, that was just a cheap move as it was. But I really don't understand why, if the main defining thing about the Emerald Chain is that they're capitalists, why was there not a Ferengi in the entire show?
There should have been one.
I mean, honestly, I was expecting the whole time for like a Grand Nagus to be in charge of the whole ball of wax. I was like, why are we not hearing about? I mean, they're the most capitalistic race in all of Trek, and yet we're leaving them out of this? Why?
Maybe Rom made them all socialists.
What I would see,
Exactly.
you get like a dissident group of Ferengi that
Well,
were
remember,
unpleased with Rom's reforms
Yeah.
and Grand Nagus reforms. They team up with the Orion Syndicate and maybe some just Nausicaans, create the Emerald Chain, and then they come up with the plot to create the burn, or to corner the market on their dilithium. So they want to sabotage versus supply of dilithium, and the Discovery has to go and prevent this from happening. That's your season
Or like
3.
the Orion and the Ferengi like trading partners.
Well, you could actually.
No, it's like you get a splinter group of the Ferengi. Like, in that ridiculous TNG episode where you had the Ferengi that stole the birds of prey to capture the Enterprise.
Maybe. Actually, you could actually make, if you got into the 31st century, if you're going to redo the third season, you could always make the Federation and this other faction run by Ferengi and other things. You can make them like this other faction like Carthage, and effectively the Federation like Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Because Carthage pretty much relied strongly on mercenary soldiers, as I remember, and they were predominantly a major threat to Rome due to their mercantile ability. I don't know. My history is very, very weak, but you can do something like that.
I just don't understand why they didn't take advantage of it. I mean, I understand that if they don't care that much about adhering to established canon and all that, but if your whole idea is you're going to come up with this evil capitalism thing for the third season, sure, you can bring the Orions in because they already had a nasty reputation as slave traders and all that. But then why don't you have them? Why the Andorians? Bring in the freaking Ferengi. It doesn't make... Because the Ferengi... I mean, come on, Quark would not be above trading a few slaves.
It would bother him after a while. He'll do it for a while, but remember when he was trying to be a weapons stealer?
Yeah, and he was fine with it until he kind of...
And maybe what he was right about was that Rom gave him back his bar. If you remember the series finale of Deep Space Nine, because Quark was infuriated about that.
About Rom becoming Nagus.
And you don't
I'm sorry, Rom becoming Nagus was stupid.
Yeah, it was. But Quark did benefit from it. He became an embassy.
Yeah, but it's still stupid. I mean, granted, I'm not saying Quark should have been Nagus, but I don't. But Rom, like the dumbest person ever on Star Trek, really?
Well, they showed him very brilliant in some episodes.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, I know quantum mechanics.
He has
it's like, come on.
Well, they kind of up themselves with Tilly.
They try to give you an explanation.
Yeah, well.
Rom makes sense in a lot of ways, but as a great engineer, yes. As a leader of people, Well,
Right, that's the thing. And granted, I know that we've been going off on Discovery for this, but this is nothing new to Trek. Unfortunately, what they have a tendency to do in they did this in Voyager a few times. They did this obviously with Rom and Deep Space Nine, where we need somebody to be a brilliant tactician. Okay, roll the dice and see who's going to be the brilliant tactician this week. You know. Oh, hey, you know what? We need an anthropologist. Chakotay's always been into anthropology. Why not? You know, that kind of thing.
you make a
And
good point.
the only difference is that with Discovery, they just take it to another level.
With Discovery,
Discovery,
they just remove all
it's-
pretense.
It's like
Yeah.
you got just writing ideas on a giant cork board and then throwing darts to see what sticks. Okay, that's our episode this week.
And no, I'm not bashing on Rom. I'm just saying Rom was I don't mind them making him a gifted engineer, because even when we first saw him, what was Quark doing? Always making Rom fix stuff. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with was then also making the arbiter of change for Ferengi society.
Maybe they're extinct.
Well,
in the 31st
the only
century after
reason I
Rom.
think they did that was because he would be the only Ferengi that would continue it.
Right, because he's so dumb, right?
Grant Nagazek went to the first thing they would have done, got rid of it, everything Zek did. So Zek picked the one Ferengi that would keep his ideals going.
And Alex, I loved Rom Space Knight back in the day. Most people in this room are probably way too young to remember Rom Space Knight.
I am.
What is
certainly.
it?
It was a toy and a comic book, came out in the 80s.
Oh. I'm not that young
Oh.
then.
He was called Rom Space Knight. And the comic books were actually kind of an interesting thing, because the toy, there was just one toy, Rom, he looks like a robotic version of the Silver Surfer with glowing red eyes, and he had like 3 little weapons that it came with when you bought the Rom action figure. So then they licensed Marvel Comics to write a comic book, and they just said, okay, do whatever you want with it. And so Marvel came up with this whole lore of the Space Knights, which were these people that were grafted into this armor. So once you put on Space Knight armor, you can never take it off. And they each Space Knight looks unique and different, and Rom was just one that was assigned to go to Earth, and they're hunting down their dreaded enemy, the Dire Wraiths, who are invisible. But the only way to see one is using Rom's energy analyzer, and it can, because Dire Wraiths will like possess people. And so if he scans you with the energy analyzer, he can see if you're actually a Dire Wraith, and then he'll shoot you with the neutralizer.
Do you
Anyway,
die?
that's
Or...
just no, the Dire Wraith dies, but you don't.
Oh.
It was Orion and Andorians because they'd already paid for the costumes in season 2, and Netflix isn't picking up the tab anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was,
But it's not like they
Why did
could.
have
I mean, come on.
Tellarites, too?
They had. Where were the? Well, did they have Tellarites? Yeah, they had a couple in the first episode, I think, didn't they?
In season 1?
No, in season 3, I think they had a couple of Tellarites in
and
the
Andorians. No, they had
in
Tellarites
the.
and Andorians. They never had Orions in season 2.
No,
They
but
did.
Orions are easy. It's just spray painting someone green.
They had them in season 1 with Giorgio. Remember that fellow with Rock?
That's true. Giorgio was screwing a couple of Orions at the end of season 1.
No,
Right.
there was one with Vok on his little rebellion and such like.
Right,
They,
but in the last episode of season 1, Giorgio was like having sex with an Orion male and female.
That character was just bad overall.
And they also brought back Born species.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lurians.
Yeah, they can bring in more, and come on, you can bring in a freaking Ferengi.
Yeah.
Hey, Cartoon Man, good to see you.
Just be glad we got anything remotely
Hey,
connected.
Cartoon Man.
Alien species. The rest of them were just.
What's up, Cartoon Man?
Ugh. Discovery had no respect for anything regarding proper check.
But
Can we
well,
talk
that's
about
why I
Untitled?
want to do this, because like when I start, because if you start looking at the biggest problem I see with Discovery was that they had no clear roadmap what they were trying to do. Right? They just kind of started spitballing stuff. And when this wasn't working, we'll have them go to the mirror universe.
Yeah, they did.
And then they were like, what do we do with
That's the
Lorca?
problem
We'll just make him a traitor or something, you know?
Oh,
That's what's happening with Kurtzman's Trek. They start off with a good or an idea, either
Yeah,
it's
so they'll
okay,
say a
but-
good idea, but an idea.
Yeah.
Which is why I
Well,
don't
sometimes
understand
it's
why
good,
they
sometimes it's just garbage.
Right.
But they're like, they go through it, instead of giving the payoff, it's like, forget this one, we'll go to this idea next. And then,
Right.
not working, we'll go to this idea next.
Right.
That's the problem.
It's like,
with
what
the
happened to the
Kurtzman
music
Trek
that everybody
now.
was hearing?
Mm.
Remember, they were ripping off the Cylon music thing, and then they just kind of forgot about it.
I mean, what surprises me is clearly they're good at doing like little one-shot things, like short little stories. And I say good very, 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 very generously. But it would be logical for them to go to like one episode arcs. They'd be perfect for that because they can't hold a logical idea for a reason to save their lives.
Or at least, if anything, go to a 2 or 3 episode arc, nothing more. You can't do
Right.
this huge
There's,
serialized
I think that, yeah, I think the
season anymore
episodic,
because it doesn't work.
well,
But it's
episodic
material.
is where Trek has always been more comfortable, but honestly, I think that they would have been fine with a serialized show, but again, if they had a clear roadmap, if, hey, this is where we're going, and so we need to, like in the script, and I don't want to spoil too much of what I'm writing about, but I compare it to Battlestar Galactica, right, the 2004 reboot, in that whether you like the ending or not, the show always felt like it was progressing towards that ending.
Hello, Captain
And so
Kirk.
you
Good to see you.
and so you may not agree with all the choices they made along the way, but they clearly had a roadmap for where they started, where they were going to end up, and how to get there. They didn't have every episode mapped out, but they had certain landmarks along the way to hit, and they did it very well. Whereas with Discovery, it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to go in this. No, we're going to go. Well, no, we're. I don't know.
Well, you could blame it on the constant hiring and firing different showrunners.
Yeah, you
But
could.
hasn't Kurtzman been the head guy of it pretty much all the way back? I mean, at least to when the Mirror
And
Universe plot
he's
started.
probably like the guy in the office, but that just oversees everything. But
Well, then
the
it's-
actual people that
Right. Then I don't care if it's, and this is the other thing about it. It doesn't matter what their reasoning is. What matters is they're producing a schlocky, crappy show. I don't care if the reason is because they fired a showrunner or the reason is because some writer went on a tirade or whatever. I don't care. What I care about is getting a good show. Just like, you know what? When I watch The Mandalorian, I don't sit there and look at, well, who wrote this episode or who's doing that. You know what? I just know, I know Jon Favreau created the show and I know the show is awesome.
and
And
they have it really planned. They very well. They know what
Right.
they want to do with this, and they're doing it. Maybe Alex Kurtzman should take some notes on how to a series.
Well, the problem is, I honestly think that, and this is not and again, I hate it when people say this, so I'm not going to say it. Alex Kurtzman is not a hack. He has the ability to make good programming. However, I don't think that Star Trek is a good fit for him.
Hey,
and
name
so-
one. Name
Huh?
name one thing that has been a success with Alex Kurtzman. One thing that's legitimately, honestly good.
Regarding Henry,
Okay then.
What about Spock and Sarek? They'd likely be,
What about-
completely. They'd likely be.
what about
completely
Spock and
different
Sarek?
characters. Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't, as far as in season 2, and remember, in my version of it, we're not going to have Spock and Sarek in this version at all, because this takes place post
And
TNG.
Michael's not going to be
Yeah, that's why I
related to
asked.
him in
Right.
any way.
Yeah. Michael is not in no way, shape, or form related to Spock. That garbage is out. That's just fanfic stuff right there. and actually that denigrates the show, because even though, you know, we might be thinking, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if you had someone that was Kirk's grandson? You know what? The only reason you're doing that is because you don't know how to write. Because
is she related or someone associated to a Vulcan? Either way, or are we completely removing any relation to a Vulcan?
No, I would not have her related to Vulcan. That's why, remember, I said that the only Vulcan tie-in for the Vulcan Hello would be to make Georgiou a Vulcan.
Okay,
Would you
I'll follow
change
that.
her first name then, basically?
Not
Hey,
well, only
Daniel.
because for convenience sake of doing what I'm trying to do with the rewrite. No, I'm not going to change anybody's name, because that would just start getting confusing if I rename all the characters and stuff. I'm just going to leave the names the way they are so that it's easy to identify who's who. And now, granted, if I were actually producing the show, yeah, I would say, yeah, we're not naming her Michael. You know, you can call her Michelle if you want, but we're not calling her Michael.
Or McKellar.
Yeah, whatever you want. You know, I'm sorry, but, you know, it's not hip to give a girl a male name, and I don't want a dude named Sally either. You know, I just, you know, you just give him a real freaking name.
Thank you.
You know, and I'm sorry people think I'm a misogynist for saying it. Well, F you. I love women, and so I want women's names to sound like women.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just call her
bad name
Pat.
for a chick.
Yeah.
Did you see the finale?
Did I see the finale? Yeah.
It was so I liked it, but I wanted more from it. You know what I mean? It wasn't perfect.
I don't know. I would definitely argue it's not perfect, but I didn't care for it very much. But I think that in part, the funny thing is, it's like they already revealed what the burn was, and then they spend half this episode of the characters discovering what the burn was. Like, why are we doing this again? We already know it's him throwing a temper tantrum. I get it. I think that ultimately it was a big fizzle at best. I'll say this: at least they didn't have 75,000 shuttles in a big firefight. I mean, they started a big firefight, and I was like rolling my eyes, going, "Here we go again!" But then they stopped.
Turbo lift.
Yeah, they did do the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory turbo lift. That's
They had the Gallifrey and Time Lord turbo lift.
Now, was it the worst episode of Discovery? No, but it, honestly, it didn't make a lot of sense. Like, I mean, and Daniel, I don't know if this bothers you at all about it or not, but when we saw the turbo lift scene, right? Now, and by the way, there was one moment that actually made me smile in that scene, and that is when Book said she's a queen. Because, Book was the one good character this season. I actually liked him. So when he said she's a queen, talking about his cat, I could see him getting ready to say that. I could feel his anger, because I know how much he loves that stupid cat. And I love that. That felt genuine to me. But while they're flying through this area inside Discovery, you do realize that Discovery could fit in that space.
Yeah, it was too big.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Yeah, it's just a turbo lift dimension, or the TARDIS dimension, whatever you want to call it. Basically.
You can clearly see these guys are not used to people who actually think. They're used to, sorry, normies to empty-headed normies.
But this isn't the freaking Death Star.
Turbo lift. Unless that's the only thing I can think of. That 90% of the ship's turbo lift.
Well, but the problem is that it would have to be more than 90, because there's
rotors and stuff in the window, where like maybe on the edges. That's the only.
Here's the problem, though, Commodore, and this is like what it breaks my brain trying to think about it. We've seen various perspective shots of the exterior of the ship that then zoom to the interior of the ship. The easiest one to use as a reference is how many times do they show the shuttle bay from the outside of the ship? And of course, they don't apparently have shuttle bay doors on this ship, so they're just always open. So you can. What's that?
Did
Candor?
When they made it the Discovery B, did they make it bigger? Basically, you think, or no?
No, because it's the same basic layout that we saw in season 1. It's.
They could have made it.
I mean,
they could have made it bigger because when they did the original TV model or the original Enterprise from the show, the movie, they did increase the size of the Constitution class.
Mm-hmm. They replaced the shell. I remember that.
So with the separating of the nacelles and all that.
But the ship doesn't look like the ship would have to be at least 50 times bigger, and it's not.
But it does look maybe slightly bigger.
Secret Hideout and Bad Robot. They want to make their starships like gargantuan.
Right, but the problem is that now Secret Hideout is doing these visual effects shots where we see the exterior of the ship, the camera pans into a window where we see into a corridor, or to the back of the ship where we see the interior of the shuttle bay. So you get a very clear reference as to how big the ship is. And it's a substantial size ship. But there is no place where the volume of the ship itself is large enough to allow for a cavern that size, even if the entire ship was just a hollowed out shell. There's literally no place where the interior volume is that big.
Can we talk about Ash Tyler, or we don't have to? But
what about him?
Like, is
you want to talk
about
Nick Volk?
Actually, we decided what this is going to be.
Well, if you want to keep him, let's have him be someone tortured by the Klingon. If you're going to keep the Klingon battles at the beginning of the season 1, have him be rescued. Have him be a survivor of insert random ship name here when they were doing a battle against the Klingons at X location.
Mm-hmm.
And they find him in an escape pod or something.
Well, they could do something with. Well, first of all, we're not doing the Ash Voke thing, because that's just beyond stupid. It makes no freaking sense whatsoever that, okay, so Ash was a real guy, Voke was a real guy. They altered Voke to look like Ash, and then altered Voke's brain to think like Ash. Then they killed Voke, so now he's Ash again. Huh?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. But I do have a couple of good ideas, and now I got some homework to work on. I'm going to be watching the Contagion and To the Death to get the Iconian references and look at that.
So Voyager didn't do any mirror episodes?
I don't think they did.
No.
The closest thing they did was Living Witness.
Yes.
Or that episode with the rewritten history.
Yeah. So Voyager, Picard, and TNG did not do anything in the mirror universe. But, you know, unfortunately, the most mirror universe material came out of Discovery.
But what was in the Voyager's holodeck that was similar to Moriarty? Or was that also in Voyager's?
Don't think there was anything like Moriarty.
No, Moriarty was TNG.
Right. Was it? Okay.
And all right, LT, I'll give you a minute here before I'm about to wrap it up. So
no, go ahead and wrap it up. I just want to make my quick point right here. Don't know if this makes sense or what, but it connects the dots. Okay, Enterprise, future tense. That spaceship was from the 31st century. Discovery season 3 is in the 32nd century. The ship was bigger on the inside as default. Had nothing to do with time travel. That was part of the ship's internal whatchamacallit. That was the ship itself. You had a small ship, huge inside. 31st century.
But Discovery is a 23rd century design.
That got retrofitted.
But it was already that way. We've already seen it that way in season 1. It's just that we saw it from a different perspective in this one.
They looked a lot bigger on that one.
Right, it looked bigger, but okay, when you retrofit a ship, it's not like they didn't gut out the entire ship and then replace everything. From what they said, they upgraded a few systems here and there. They upgraded the operating system, but they did not remove everything and replace it. In fact, their warp drive, from what I could tell, was the same warp drive.
That's not what it looked like, especially when you look in the core. They basically bathed it in programmable matter. So you basically went over the entire ship. They even had they even
said they couldn't duplicate the spore drive, so they couldn't change any of the core systems.
But they had a programmable matter core. I mean, isn't that
they didn't really explain what that was. That thing they shoved Michael into. I assume it's just a block of programmable matter that they can use for when they need it. But they didn't really explain it. They just said, "Ooh, this would be a cool effect. Let's shove her into that."
Oh yeah. I know the fact. I'm trying to stay away from the reasoning of saying that they just fucked up or they just screwed up. Trying to get some kind of. I mean, obviously, I agree with you. They effed up. They completely effed up, especially with the whole why if he was mutated to cause the burn, then why did his physical scream cause it? If your DNA changed to you know what I mean? What was the scream had to do with it?
Well, even if you
I thought it was going to
be
like a mental. I thought it would have been if his DNA changed, it would have been his mental state maybe that caused the burn. But they specifically said it was his resonance of his voice. The guy sings the burn if he's near dilithium.
Right. And then does that mean that this kid is now he's an old man, but is he going to be banned from ever being near any dilithium because if he gets pissed off, he's going to cause another burn if he's near a dilithium crystal anywhere?
Well, it's not even pissed off. They said it was his vocal. He can't even talk near it or sing near it or say yes or have an orgasm.
Well, the only time it actually caused a reaction was when he screamed out in anguish, not singing or anything. I mean, what we actually saw a reaction from was from him screaming. But regardless, and by the way, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of the lore on dilithium. I mean, in the original series, dilithium was just a crystal that they used to help stabilize the matter-antimatter reaction and stuff. But so when did dilithium become magic subspace crystals? Is that just a Discovery thing, or is there anything before
magical
Discovery?
Space?
Subspace.
What do you mean? I'm missing the reference.
Same.
Because they mentioned in the season finale that the reason that the burn occurred is because the Kelpian is in tune with them, and they have a subspace component that these crystals exist in subspace. And so when did that happen? Is that something that was established prior that I'm just not remembering, or is that something they just pulled out of their asses?
If anyone else, I have something to say on that. That didn't make no sense to me at all. Now I didn't when I heard her say that, the first words out of my mouth is, well, everything has a subspace component. If you're matter in space, then you have a component in subspace. I didn't get the reference there, but I see what you're saying. You're saying like there's a magical
I just don't remember that.
action connection.
Right.
No, I don't remember any of that either. You would figure the only thing that, matter of fact, now that you mention it, was the TNG episode where they proved that warp drive was ripping subspace.
Right, but that's warp drive. That's not the dilithium doing it. That's just the warp field, because the warp field creates a subspace barrier around the ship. I get that.
Yeah.
But what I don't get
Saval's
is
backstage.
Okay, well, I'm getting ready to wrap it up in like 2 minutes, but thank you. Hey, Admiral.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Oh, not too bad.
Horrible luck getting in here.
I saw you popped in and out about a dozen times that I saw. Anyway, so
they dropped the ball left and right. And the last thing I'm going to say before I head out of here was that last bit that CBS screwed up on where they specifically said, let's use the spore drive to go give everybody this dilithium. And then the last scene is them warping away.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that dilithium planet in a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm watching your Schmel VG. All you were saying, and you're not using the spore drive? You're not using the spore drive?
But,
Well, they
Anywho.
wanted to have the
you fixed
classic.
your scenes yet?
No, we're strictly in StreamYard right now. I'm still
But
waiting to
that's-
hear back from the XSplit people.
But that's BS. The whole point of the sport drive is that we had a new mode of transportation, and they even made it look cool with the whole spinning, whatchamacallit, the black alert, and the whole upside down Mario Brothers through the floor effect. They could have just done it like that and be done with it. They warped away. That just was another, what the hell? Seriously, you kidding me? And by the way, hiding something in your mouth, you can't hide anything from a freaking transporter, okay? That shouldn't have worked. Okay?
Well, not
You hide the
necessarily. I mean,
medication in her mouth?
putting it in her mouth would have been unnecessary. She could have just been holding it in her hand.
In her hand, or what exactly?
Right. Because,
that whole-
think about it. It's not like if you beam down to a planet, it's not like you have to set the transporter to beam your clothes with you.
Yeah, especially when their main reason for changing her species was not to scare the kid, yet the kid is Kelpian, so why the hell did you change the Kelpian? And then
Well, why
why
would
the
you
hell did you
change
change somebody to
anybody?
Trill? Yeah, why would you change anybody unless they were like freaking Borg or,
Now,
maybe
I will
7
say
or 9
this.
or something.
Okay, I'm going to finish this with something positive I'm going to say about the final episode of Discovery. You ready for this?
This should be good.
Yeah. No,
was the
no,
last
no.
episode?
It ended.
Yeah, this last episode. I have one thing positive to say about the episode.
It ended.
Is well, okay, two things. So the no, and I actually do mean this. So one thing that bothered me throughout season 3 is, of course, at first they were trying to do the whole virtue signaling, like, ooh, we have a transgender character, right? And even though Gray is not transgendered, the actress is, right? But whatever. However, what's is that Blue? I'm trying to remember. Is it Blue that plays Gray, or is it whatever the actress that or they or whatever they call themselves?
No, Blue plays Adira.
Okay, so whoever Gray is, that actress, she looked great as a Vulcan. She looked like a young Vulcan male to me. I was sitting there thinking, dang, why did they have to make Gray a freaking Trill? Make Gray a Vulcan and you got it. But anyway, that's my moment of positivity there. Is that Gray made a good Vulcan.
Or it's the back in Terex, kid.
It is what it is. We'll see what happens next season. But before then, remember, we have even more Death of Truck coming with Picard Season 2.
When is that gonna release?
I have not heard anything on it, so
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean Picard Season 2. I meant PICARD Season 2.
I'll get the bleach.
I have no idea what you mean by that, but
Because he had to spell his name at Starfleet headquarters. He had to spell his freaking name.
I'm Captain Picard, I think.
How many balls should be serving?
I'm sorry, before Picard came out, I said Patrick Stewart is too damn old. After watching the show, I have to say Patrick Stewart is too damn old. Then they did those commercials with Mark Hamill and Patrick Stewart, and all I could think was Patrick Stewart is too damn old. It's like,
well, he's dead now, so
He acted better in those commercials than he did
Mark
in the
Hamill.
show.
I don't think Patrick Stewart is dead yet.
no, he meant Picard is dead
No,
because
Picard
they
is-
killed him in the last season. But he's a robot now.
He's an android.
You know.
Why this is not taking
Android.
place in the normal universe?
Not robot.
It's all just alternative.
That'd be
Whatever,
interesting
he's a freaking robot.
It'd be interesting to
He's dead.
if he meets up with Troy or with with Troy or Q, and he tries to play off it as it's still him, but they're like, something's off with you.
But the problem is that, I mean, Picard, I think it's hilarious, since Picard was famously somewhat atheistic on the show. And so, since he dies in that episode, based on Picard's own beliefs, he is gone. The only thing that's in that robot body is a copy of his memories in a robot brain.
Exactly.
That has, Picard is dead.
End of the episode?
Exactly.
But didn't you see at the end of the episode, it's like, you couldn't give me any extra years life?
Well, yeah, but that was
Because
just,
they
because they don't want you to stop and think about the fact that Picard's dead.
They should have had a Ferengi at the space casino.
Until
I will say this though.
Unfortunately,
at least he died better than Kirk.
Have go until Patrick Stewart passes away, and that's when finally killed the Picard character off, the android Picard off.
Well, I'll tell you what. I had a random thought go through my head, guys, and tell me if you think. Tell me about it because random. The only place random exists is actually in here. So that being said, you know how Mandalorian got freaking Luke Skywalker? You know what would have been freaking awesome on the last episode of Discovery if we would have had
Captain Kirk, I'm gonna punch you.
Sith Picard showing up and saving the day in the last episode of freaking. And just show the red uniform, and you're like, "Is it him?" And then he turns around, and it's Sith Picard saving a day 900 years in the future.
No.
They told me they weren't giving me any other years, those bastards.
What about that scene on Picard at the space casino?
It's about time you guys find me.
LG, you just made it a lot worse. Good God.
Well, remember that. Like remember they said that program that they gave him was no different than the one Data's mother had. That's removable. That whole you're going to die in a few years and you're going to age, that's just a program. That's not hard. They can remove that.
I heard that too, Medallia. It sounded like you said Sith Picard. And I was sitting there. I'm picturing now Picard with a red lightsaber going, I'm going to beat you down, mother.
I just noticed that in the scene where they're at the space casino in Picard, there's not one single Ferengi there.
Hooker? Yeah.
Where did
and that pissed me off because it's Quark's Casino. I mean, that casino is a Quark's casino, and yet we don't. I mean, why the heck didn't they get Armin Sherman to show for a 10-second cameo? All you had to do was, after 7 of 9 shot up the place, have Quark stick his head up from behind the bar, and everybody would have been applauding.
Yeah. Or holographic waiters or something. Yeah, totally.
They probably couldn't do that because Zimmerman wanted more money.
Oh, I don't think he would. I mean, what's he doing?
They spent too much money on the Borg to flush him out the garage door. Okay?
Yeah.
How much money do they waste on the Borg on Picard?
I got to say, Admiral, I don't think that it was a matter of money. I think they just didn't think of it.
I have to go. My planet needs me right now.
All right, man. I got to go too. So, all right, guys. I assume you're probably streaming right now, LD, because you usually like to, steal people's stuff and stream it on your channel.
Wow.
Ouch. Oh,
sorry.
Are you still chasing G's? Are you still chasing D's?
Is he still chasing dinghies?
D's.
What?
D's.
D. Deej,
wait, you've been chasing Deej? What's going on? Are you guys like
he's
lovers
been on,
now or something?
He's been on since the whole Christmas incident.
No, yeah. No, me and Deej we're good. We're good. He knows what he did. Ever since
I don't want to. No, shut up. I don't want to hear another word. Don't want to hear it. I'm not getting involved in another drama crap. I don't care what it was. Don't care. All right, guys. So thank you for hanging out with me. I can't wait to get. Man, I'll tell you this is going to be my magnum opus when I get this Discovery series done. But the first part will be out on Monday, which is going to be the overview. I think I'm going to use that Lorca idea of him being in the Dominion War. I'm gonna do the research on the Iconian tech, and I think there's going to be some good stuff here. But with that, thank you everybody for helping me out with some ideas, and stay weird or whatever. Well, LD's always weird.